Hey guys, Alpha 9 here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most advanced and deadly helicopters ever built, the Apache AH64D Longbow, of course in DCS world. If you are wondering whether to take the plunge or you're just getting started, this video will break down everything you need to know, so stay and stick with me. Of course, the Apache is a twin-engine, tandem seat attack helicopter, and in DCS world, it's one of the most complex and rewarding models you can fly. It's a nice chopper. It's one of the most or the best choppers, and it's one of the best I like to fly in DCS. Of course, the chopper has two crew positions, the pilot and the CPG, which is the gunner. I want to talk about certain points here in this video, which is the takeoff landing, the FCR, the countermeasures, George control, which is your best friend if you have no friends to fly with. So George gonna be your AI co-pilot or pilot. This depends on what you want. So George helps manage flying, targeting, and even firing weapons when you are solo. Of course, he's not perfect, but he makes the Apache playable even if you are flying solo. So keep this in mind. Also, we're gonna talk about the TADs if you are as a gunner, playing as a gunner, and how to work with waypoints in the chopper system. And we'll talk about the Hellfire types and of course the map options in the chopper. So let's start with the takeoff and landing. Of course, I'm not gonna talk about how to turn the chopper on, because I have a short on the channel where you can just find and learn how to turn on the chopper. So I'm gonna skip this because I don't want to make the video long. So let's start with the takeoff and the landing. Your chopper is powered and all set and ready to take off. I just want to show you this indicator here. This is good for new players, which shows you the power of your input power to the chopper and your joystick position and your rudders. Basically, this is the joystick position and this is the rudder right here. If you can see my pilot feet, this is the rudder. Now those options are good and will help you see what you are doing while flying. Now let's talk about the takeoff. The Apache, in most cases, when you add the power to the chopper, trying to take off will tend to go to the right. So let me just demonstrate this for you. Okay, I'm not touching the joystick. I'm just adding power, and check this out. When there is enough power and it's ready to take off, it will tend to go to the right side. As you can see, it started to going right. And if you don't control this, of course, you will crash. The best way to fix this issue is by compensate to the left, which means that you need to use the rudders or the rudder when you take off and compensate to the left. So let's try. Add some power as you can see, adding collective, and it will tend to go to the right. I will use my radar here just to keep it in position. Now we will crash, or we didn't, but this is the way it is. Now, till you gain some speed, it will keep spinning to the right. Keep this in mind. Basically, add power, compensate to the left, you will be good. And of course, when you add the power, make it slowly. Don't just go from 0 to 100. In most cases, you will crash. Now, let's try to land. Landing is the same thing. If you set the power a bit down to try to descend and reduce the speed, it will tend to go to the left. So you need to compensate a bit to the right. This depends on your situation. But as you can see, we lower the power and now it's descending and we are reducing speed. Now, the less speed you have, the more descend speed you will get. So you need to keep this in mind when you're landing. And before you touch the ground, make sure that you are doing it very, very, very gentle. As you can see, we are descending in a nice way. Now the speed is dropping more, so I will add a little power here to make sure that we don't crash to the ground. And as simple as that. We'll reduce the power and we are fine, as you can see. Now, of course, guys, this needs practice. You can't just do it from the first run and say, yeah, I can do it. Because even me, sometimes I crash when landing and so on. So you need to keep practicing. Now, let's talk about the FCR. FCR basically is the model which is on the top of the rotors, which is this one right here. As you can see, this is this thing above. This will help you basically to find your enemies or find targets without being exposed to enemy radar or enemy fire. Now, the way this works is by activating it from here. Let me zoom in to show you what's going on. We press on the FCR right here. We go to utility because we need to power this thing on. It will be MMA pinned. You need to press this and set it to normal. Of course, FCR bit in progress. You can skip that by pressing FCR bit override basically. And now it's right here. Of course, you need to activate it. I set my FCR activation to F. So once I press F, my targeting system will be the FCR. Then I can do some of course I can do some swipes to find targets. You have two options where you can do just 2 swaps or continuous. And I just want to say, I'm not sure about this, but when you use the FCR is basically a radar. So if you are using it, the enemy will know that you are there because they will detect your radar frequencies and will know that you are there. So I'm not sure if this is correct 100%. That's why I try not to use it unless I'm in a good cover or I'm certain that there are some enemies ahead. This is the FCR basically. I'm not gonna go any deeper in this. So the next point we're gonna talk about is the countermeasures. You have two type of countermeasures in the chopper, which is the flares and the shaft. Now basically flares used against heat seeking missiles. The shaft should be used against a radar guided missiles. Once you go into the chopper, you make sure that you arm your countermeasure system, and for me I bypass the system and use it manually because I feel like it's better, because the chopper when using it on auto will just dispense almost all the countermeasures you have on the chopper. So I bypass. Now you can use the flare, but you can't use the shaft unless you activate it. The way you do this is basically by going to this monitor here, go to weapons, ASE, click on it, and as you can see the shaft is safe. We click here and it's arm. The shaft mode is program. I set it to manual. This way, if I go out, as you can see, I can just dispense shafts. Of course the flare is not visible because we are touching the ground. This is about the countermeasures. Now let's go to George controls. George basically is your AI teammate, which is sitting right here, and he will help you killing enemies or flying the chopper. It's up to you. Now to activate George, you need to press left Control V and you will have this menu here, or these features. Now if it's yellow, this means that he's holding fire. If I hold my W, you see that it's changing to free fire, and if you press A, you will change the weapons. And if you now just one click W, he will start looking for targets. If he find any target, he will give you a menu here with red names. Red names are enemies, blue are friendlies, so be careful when using this. This is basically George while sitting at CPG. Now I want to change by pressing 2. I go to the CPG and George will be piloting. The same thing, we press Ctrl V and we will have this feature right here, and this is all about George flying the chopper. Now in HB mode, this means that we are staying in position. If I press the W here, as you can see, I'm raising the altitude, so he will go to the altitude I requested. The more I go, the more he will go. This is the HB. Now if I press A, as you can see, we are changing modes. The combat mode is one of the best if you wanna just run away from something or hide or anything. This will give you a fast features to work with. For example, if I want George to turn 180 right now with the combat mode, I just hold S. and he's braking 180, as you can see. If I hold A or D, he will brake to the side you are asking for. For example, the A, he will brake left 90 degrees and more 90 degrees. Now, if we press A another time, and there are different guys. Some features need to hold the button, some features just by clicking. CMWS is your countermeasures. It's set to armed and bypass, as you can see here. For the flight, this mode will become available once you are in the air. And if you press W while in flight, he will start moving. Now, as I said before, he's not perfect, so you need to be careful when he flies, because if you go above 90 kilometers here, he will tend to gain speed by diving, and if you are close to the ground, he will crash you. Simple. Now, while in the flight, I'm holding A, he will just turn to the left. If I hold D, he will turn to the right. Speed set. He's at 90 and we'll keep him at 90. Now, let's check the map. Let's go to the map right here. Zoom in. The map. How can you change things in the map? You just click here on the map. Of course, you have a scale, color, and type. This is a chart, which I don't like to use. I always use the satellite for more precise information. And the levels you can set here. Also, the colors can give you the elevation. The AC, I have no idea what's that, but I never change this, to be honest. This is for the map. This is the range you can see. Easy. But just want to tell you guys that this will take resources when you use it. So this is the map. Now for the waypoints. If I want to go, as you can see, we have a waypoint right here, but let's turn the chopper to the right, to the left a bit, so we can go to the waypoint. Now I want to choose the waypoint here. What I do is by going to RTE dir, which is directory, and you choose which waypoint you have here. And you will have list of waypoints depending on the mission you are doing or on the server you are on. I'm gonna choose waypoint 1, which is our target, and as you can see now I have this line which will lead us to the waypoint. Simple. Now if we don't have this waypoint registered here, what we need to do is go to dir and point. Then we have a computer here. Basically it's some keyboard or something, and we, as you can see now, it's asking for a point. We put the W because this is how the plane know that, or the chopper knows that this is a waypoint, and we set, for example, we need waypoint 3, we set 0, 3, and we enter. Of course it will start blinking. This means that this is not working because the mission does not have waypoint 3. So basically it's just to show you how things goes, but yeah. Okay, we are heading to target now. So let me explain to you about the Hellfires. Hellfires basically, there are two type of Hellfires. One is the Kilo, one is the Lima. The Kilo is a laser guided. The Lima is radar guided. It's fire and forget. I just want to give you one scenario where I use the Kilo, which is if you want to destroy a house or destroy a structure, you need to use the Kilo. Why? Because you just laze the target and fire, and your Hellfire will just go to that laser point and destroy the target, whatever it is. For the Lima is fire and forget, and it does not lock on structures in most cases. This is my experience in the game. Please let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong, but Lima does not lock on structures. It needs to be fired at a vehicle, or in some cases I fire at choppers and it hits actually. But this is the main difference. You just laze the point for the Lima to get the range, you fire it, and it will fire and forget, and it will go by itself to look for the target. For the Kilo, it's the opposite. You laze the target and you keep lazing it, and the Hellfire will go and hit that laser point. Keep this in mind when you using your weapons. That's why in most cases I have 4 Lima and 4 Kilo just in case. Now for the next point, which is the TADs. Basically, this monitor is your site where you can use the TADs, the FCR, whatever targeting system you are using. Let me just gain some altitude here. And I'm using the TADs right now. Now I'm using the FCR. You see the difference. This says TADs. This say FCR. Now the TAD gives you the option to look around, left, right, up and down, and also to zoom in. As you can see, I zoom in, and also it has this flare mode, which you can change to hot white, hot black, stuff like that. Also it has this TV mode, which is nice. It gives you more zoom and higher details than the flare. Of course, in the night, it's not efficient, so using the flare would be a better choice. Let me take control of the chopper and head to the target to show you how George can hit the target. Then we can kill also some targets as a gunner, so you have an idea how to do that. Now I'm in control, and as you can see, our waypoint is ahead of us, and I will tell George to start scanning for targets. I know for sure that we have an SA-9 somewhere at the shore of that lake.
Roger. Deslaving.
And guys, you need basically to read about the vehicles and the type of weapons they have in DCS, because you will have a better knowledge with what you are dealing with. Now the SA-9 is a medium range, I believe, anti-air vehicle which can fire missiles at you. So this is how you set the priority of the targets you are gonna take out. Of course, I have few targets ahead of me, but I will be looking for the SA-9 as a priority. And George have a weird trimming. At 12 kilometers, for sure, he will find the target. So we need to get closer because we are a bit far at 17 and getting closer.
Slaving. I'm deslaved. And slave. Deslave. Slaving. Deslaving.
I just keep asking him to scan because I don't want to get
Deslave.
in the range of that vehicle.
And slave. Deslave. Slaving. I'm deslaved.
And there we go. He find it and we ask him to fire. Of course, we are out of range. Once we are at maybe 11 kilometers, he will fire. Of course, you need to be careful. Once firing, you should change course and get away from that vehicle, unless you wanna face
Target in range.
some missiles. As you can see, he's lasing.
Lasers off.
He will fire and we just change course. I will let him fly and we will follow our Hellfire to see how it's gonna hit the target here. And as you can see, it's preparing to fire and it's gone. Yeah, let's get control again and go back to the other side to find more enemies. Now for George it's easier to find targets because he's an AI. We'll ask him to take control and to hold position.
Copy. Just hold one down.
As you can see, and we will try to find some targets. What I like to do is zoom in to be able to find enemies.
11 o'clock. Searching.
At requested speed.
Let's change the mode. Zoom in a bit. Well, that's nothing. Now, as I said before, guys, hovering is a bad idea and most likely will get you killed. So you need to be careful when you hover. And what we have here, we have a truck.
Fixed wing, 7 o'clock, searching.
Copy. Speeding up. Copy. Slowing down. At requested speeds.
As you can see, things are easier with the TV mode. AA, this is an AA, should be our priority here. So I'm gonna fire first at this guy. We hold the laser just to get the range and we fire. Rifle. Now we have a countdown here, which is indicator for the impact time. It's not accurate, but it's fine.
Good hit. Good hit.
And we have a splash. Let's get to our next target right here. We get the range and rifle. And splash.
Good hit on target.
And this is the third target right there. And it's a command outpost. So let's take it out. Fire. Six seconds and counting down. And boom. Now I believe that we got some more targets, so we'll let George handle it. So I will take control. We'll reset George trim because he make weird trims, and we'll ask him to look for targets.
Roger. D-slave.
SC2, 10 o'clock,
Roger.
searching.
D-slave. Slave. Empty slave.
He found 2 vehicles.
Tracking target. Laser on. Lasers off. Slaving. Deslaving. Tracking target. Laser on. Lasers off. Good hit. Good hit. Target destroyed.
We destroyed 2 vehicles, and I believe that we have more.
Roger. Deslaving. Roger. Deslave. Target acquired.
Hawk. 10 o'clock. Searching.
Laser on. Lasers off. And slave. Deslaving. Target in sight. Blazing. Lasers off. Roger. Deslaving. Dewazed. Get me closer. Wrap. Gun wazed. Wazing rockets.
Once we get in range, they will start firing.
Fixed wing. 6 o'clock.
Effective. Good hit. Good hit. In range.
Hawk. 9 o'clock. Searching. Hawk. 9 o'clock.
Lasers off.
Searching.
Roger. Engaging.
And he's firing at us. So guys, this is it for today's video and today's guide. I hope you find it useful. Please subscribe, like the video. If you have any comments, any tips, any questions, leave it below. Until next time, stay safe, keep playing, and we'll see you the next one. Peace.